What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and just got a couple super quick things that I want to let you guys know about. So first of all, Miami Dolphins signed defensive end Jonathan Bonner to practice squad. Bonner, 6'3", 295, is a rookie from Notre Dame. That's per Joe Shad. Also, just interesting bit of information for you here on, the Dolphins and kind of the status of our offensive and defensive lines. As per Cameron Wolf, the Dolphins have allowed 54 sacks this season. They have notched just 18 sacks themselves. That negative 36 sack differential is worst in NFL. Bengals are second worst at negative 20. Okay. And then he says change for Dolphins starts in the trenches, which, of course, as I've been saying for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, it just goes to show you how absolutely terrible our offensive line and defensive lines are. And my bet is that this organization is going to drastically neglect those offensive and defensive lines going forward, despite the fact that we have all these picks and so on and so forth. I don't think they're going to prioritize properly. And I think that they're going to bank on big name free agents that aren't going to pan out as well as that they hoped. But we'll see. Also, the last thing that I want to mention just really fast is, so apparently Raekwon McMillan got put on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Okay. Now, apparently by reports that I've read, he's had it for a little bit now. I don't know how many weeks, 1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever. But he's had this hamstring injury for a little bit, maybe the whole season. I don't know. But it's been a lingering issue for him, something that he's been playing through. Okay. And even though he hasn't been on the injury report, and at least not that I've seen, and they decide to put him on injured reserve 2 games before the season ends. Okay, well, you might have the argument that, they're worried about his health, and there's no point in playing him these last 2 games. We're 3-11, blah, 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 right? But there actually is a point. The reason, and the point would be, is that our run defense is terrible as is, and he is our best run defender. And it's a little coincidental that they decide to put him on injured reserve when he's had this injury, this lingering injury, for at least a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, at least for a short time. Okay, they could have done it last week. They could have done it before last week's game. Okay, but they didn't. They decided to do it the week we played the worst team in the league. The absolute worst team in the league that's, fighting for the number 1 pick. Okay. And they have a running back in Joe Mixon who is, been playing well recently. Obviously him and the entire Bengals team have struggled, but he's been playing well for the Bengals recently. And we just don't have a fucking run defense almost at all. So it's a little bit coincidental that they decided to do it at this time. I'm just saying. Not saying anything, just saying. So, I mean, because if you really cared about, not getting him hurt further, you should have just done it last week. But it's a little funny that they decided to do it this week when we are literally playing the worst team that exists currently, at the very least by record, and where we are fighting to get the number 2 pick or even possibly the number 1 pick, because we could still potentially even get the number 1 pick if we lose to the Bengals, and then, if some other things happen as well. I mean, the Bengals would probably then have to win their last game of the season. There's a lot that would need to happen, but there is still potential. So, to me, that coincidence is just far too big. I mean, because if he's been playing through it for at least a week or 2, why not have him play through it 1 more week? And then if you want to use the argument, well, we just don't think that there's any, point or purpose to play him the last 2 weeks. Maybe next week when we're almost assuredly to get our asses handed to us by the Patriots in Foxborough. But there is good reason to say you could use him. You could absolutely use him in this game, especially against a running back who's starting, had a couple good games that he's strung together, right? And who's been performing well recently, in Joe Mixon. So the coincidence is a little too big for me. It just adds to the list of intentional things, because again, they if you really cared about his health, you could have done it last week. But, he's been playing through this injury, so he could play through one more week when you actually need him. Next week, you wouldn't need him. So it's just all bullshit. And as far as I'm concerned, but that's up to you guys to figure out. I'm here to fucking give y'all the facts, the data, the information, and the best perspective and analysis that I can. And it's up to y'all to decide for yourselves. Obviously, 70% of the Dolphins fan base is still on board with this nonsense. So, again, I hope I can be proven wrong. I want them to prove me wrong. I don't see it happening. My prediction is that this is going to end up being a disaster for the next 2 years. We're going to have to suffer through this shit for the next 2 years. Stephen Ross is going to get impatient because wrenches get thrown into the cogs, things happen, unexpected shit comes up. He thinks that he's just going to be able to throw money at the problem and sign big name free agents and everything's going to be all fine, and it's not going to end up being fine. We're going to have 2 more down years, and then after about 3.5 years, he's going to get impatient and he's going to fire Brian Flores and he's going to scapegoat him. He'll say some nice things about how he really appreciates everything that Brian Flores did, but he just feels like it's time to go in another direction, as he always does. And we're going to be back at square one yet again. That's my prediction. I hope they prove me wrong. So far, they've proven me right on a lot of things. We'll see what happens going forward. I would be so happy to be able to change my stance on that. We'll see. Anyway, with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts for my videos. Make sure you share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And, of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.